Hey, got something really cool I wanted to run by and let you know what's going on. So I'm starting a group that will start taking a deep dive into each one of these episodes. So we'll collectively come together and talk about the shows, talk about the guests. I'll be bringing back some of the guests to do some Q&A sessions and really take a further dive into their story, their journey, the episode, talk about, maybe some of the things you wish I would have asked on the episodes, do some Q&A sessions and the like. As a friend put it to me, it's really like a book club, but for the podcast. So a couple times a week, we'll go in, we'll break down the favorite shows of the week, and have cool discussions around everything that we've heard, we've learned, and want to know about their journey. Some of these guests will come in and they'll teach part of, what makes them awesome at what they do. And then, as always, I'll be providing regular value and content in this group. It's really cool because this only is going to cost $5 a month to join this group. And you'll be able to come in, interact with everybody else in there. So I'll put a link right in the show notes for this that you can jump in, come have a conversation with us, and we will really deep dive into each one of these episodes and help us all rise up together. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's going to be a great show today. Having the show wasn't something I started out to do. But the day I found out somebody wanted to really sponsor the show was a really, really cool experience. So, guys, I want you to take some time to go check out Point Blank Safety Services and their new nonprofit, Blue Family Fund. These guys are doing some really, really cool things. And Stacy McGovern, who's the CEO over there, has been a dear friend, and she was a guest on the show. But these guys are literally taking, the off-duty officers and putting them out in security guard role. And here's what's cool about it is, as they're protecting our lives, they don't make a whole lot of money in that regard. No first responders are paid for the value they provide for our safety and our health and taking care of us. So these guys, Stacy and her team over at Point Blank Safety Services have really found a cool way to give back to these officers by helping them provide an additional income so they can continue to support and protect us. So do me a favor, guys. Seriously, go check out pointblanksafety.com and then go look at their nonprofit, which is Blue Family Fund. Now, this nonprofit was created because of the success of Point Blank Safety Services. They wanted to give back to the families of fallen officers and be able to give scholarships away to the families of current, police officers. So do me a favor. It would mean the world to me if you would go out and help support this show by supporting Point Blank Safety Services and their nonprofit Blue Family Fund. Just tell them Donnie has sent you. You heard it on Donnie Success Champions, and Stacy will take a tremendous and amazing care of you. Thanks, guys.
This episode is going to be all about how to really get good in sales. I'm going to share a lot about my journey, the things I went through, and, tell you a little bit about how do you really get going in your sales career. Hey guys, it's another Friday with Donnie. I'm your host, Donnie Boivin, and welcome to Success Champions. So a lot of you have heard the show, know my story is I spent 20 years in the sales game. I'm still in the sales game. And, now I'm just selling for myself instead of selling for all the other people out there across the world. And it's probably the most often thing that I'm brought in to speak about from different organizations. It's more transitioning over to me coming in and speaking a lot more about social selling. I keep getting asked a lot how I put out so much content on a regular basis. So, that's what I've been focused on is getting as much content as I can get put out there regularly. And now I'm doing a lot of, teaching to help people get content out there because they're really struggling with it. But the point of this show is not to talk about social selling. We are going to talk about sales in general. So, and I'm really going to try and bust some myths of some of the gurus out there. Just some of the things that they throw out that just wear me out. Really, my hope is through our time together on this show, we really just dumb it down, Big Bird style. So you can finally find success in sales and not so much have to worry about the greaseball mentality that gets thrown around a lot of days. So let me talk about a couple things. One, I hate the word hustler. It's probably one of the biggest keywords throwing out nowadays. You got to hustle. You got to be a hustler. You got to do all blah. Right? It kills me. And the reason it kills me is every time I hear the word hustler, I think you're trying to swindle somebody out of their cash. Every time I hear hustle is you're trying to do something unprofessional, unethical. And I know they're using it in the terms of, you got to do more, but work more. But come on, I know I'm not alone on this. I know I'm not sitting here by myself and cringe every time somebody says, you got to hustle, right? It's just annoying. So if it's not a hustle, what is it? Here it is. Sales is simply this. Sales is a conversation. It's a conversation that happens to have an outcome. What's interesting of it is when I stand in front of rooms and say sales is a conversation, I can almost watch the vibe of the room relax. Because I'm a pretty high energy guy, right? When I stand in front of audiences, I'm pretty direct. I was on a coaching call yesterday, and the gal I was working with, she goes, every time you talk to me, I feel like I'm talking to a general, which I take as a hell of a compliment, but it's just my personality. So to hear a guy like me say that it's just a conversation usually helps people understand where I'm coming from when I talk about selling. Because look, sales inherently is not an easy thing. It's not. And the reason it's not is because most people are not programmed to deal tenaciously, perseverely, and continue to move forward and go for it. They usually want to get a career that has freedoms. And here's what I mean. I don't know any soul, and I'm sure there's one or two of you out there, but I don't know anybody at the age of 1 to 5 years old, 5 to 11 years old, when they were asked the question, what do they want to be when they grow up? I can almost guarantee that the answer never came out, I want to be a sales guy. Right? Not many people in this world choose to go into a sales profession. They fall into it. And it's usually because somebody said something along the lines of, oh, you're really good at talking to people. You should get in sales. Or, oh, we got to grow the company. You're good at talking with people. You're now in sales. Or, I can't find a job anywhere. The only people that are hiring are sales positions. Right? And now you've got to go be a salesperson. And a lot of people have the myth around sales, and if you've been in sales for any time, you know what I'm fixing to say. The myth is that all that we do is go play golf and hang out and do nothing to grow a business. And we sit back and drink cocktails all day. Now, I wish that was the case, but the truth of the matter is sales is really one of the toughest professions in the world. And the main reason is it is a mental game. You constantly have to keep yourself in a strong mental toughness position because you're going to get your teeth kicked in. Not physically, I hope, but when you're out there trying to sell, it's constantly a situation of learning, rejection, verbal abuse because somewhere unwritten law says it's okay to beat up salespeople verbally. You've got to deal with a lot of stuff that we're not trained to deal with. I mean, imagine you're in a job and you walk up to the printing department and say, I need a copy of this piece of paper, and they look at you and say, we're not interested. Or you go to the accounting department and say, I need this bill paid, and they say, yeah, we've already got somebody doing that. Right? Sales is the only profession where you're expected to go out and get verbally punched in the face on a daily basis and smile. Because everywhere else in business, you walk up and say, I need a copy. They're like, okay, well, let's get you a copy. You know, you need this check written. Okay, let's get the check written. You know, hey, can I get that manual on X? Nope, we don't do manuals, right? If you're just not a sales guy, they'll just hand you the book. But everywhere else, because people are so gun-shy around salespeople, and it's our own damn fault, we know it, people just don't care about salespeople. And that's the environment in which people have to go out and grow their business. It's not a fun environment, especially if you're starting a game out and you have to battle your own demons and your own head trash of you're worried about what people think about you. But look, guys, we are still in a caveman mentality when we're walking through life, and here's what I mean. When cavemen were around and they were, hunting in tribes, in packs, if for some reason, now you got to remember, when cavemen were walking the earth, there was these things called dinosaurs. Yeah, those were big-ass, massive beasts. And even years later when people were hunting elephants, which is a tragic thing, very rarely would one guy take down an elephant. Now, massively quadruple that size of an elephant, and that's the thing that wants to eat you if you're a caveman. Now, if you're hunting in packs or you're camping in packs and a freaking T-Rex were to break through your camp, you hope everybody jumps up and grabs a spear. What you don't hope that happens is the day before that T-Rex busts through the trees is that you were rejected from your tribe, and now you're sitting there by yourself because guess what? You are T-Rex food. That's it. Right? We still function as a society of that rejection equals death. And I know that's extreme, but that's really how people are playing the game. And they're mentally battling themselves that if I go out there, I'm going to be eaten by a T-Rex, but yet I'm supposed to smile. I'm supposed to be okay with that. I'm supposed to be tenacious. I'm supposed to push through that. I'm supposed to continue on and smile as the T-Rex is chewing me up and swallowing me. Right? So why the hell would anybody want to be a sales guy? I mean, why would anybody want to put themselves in that situation? Truth? Most don't. Most hate it. Most don't want to be there. But they do want the money. They do want the freedom. They want the lifestyle. They just don't want all the crap that comes with it. See, salespeople are some of the highest paid people in the world. They are some of the most wealthy individuals in the world Because a lot of salespeople become CEOs of major companies. There's a lot of reasons business fails. So I'm not going to say that this is the only reason business fails. But if you can't sell, you can't have a business. If you can't sell or figure out a process to sell, you will not have a business. Because without sales, you have no money. No money, no revenue, no profits, no nothing. You have zilch. And if you have zilch, guess what? You don't have a business anymore. So, how do we not get eaten by a T-Rex? Love that. How do we not get rejected from our tribe? I have a couple of theories. And they're things that I've employed over my career. And I hope that you embrace them. So number one, absolute number one thing you must do in sales, period. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you sell. I don't care how much of a badass you think you are. The number one rule you must follow in sales is relax. It's just a sales call. Man, I love talking about when I was doing a lot of training. I would go for a ride with a brand new salesperson, and on the way to the call, they would sit there, they'd be joking with me, having a great conversation, and, 1 minute we'd be normal conversation. We'd pull up to the office building. We're going to do a walk-in in or do the meeting in. You get out of the car, and that salesperson does a Jekyll and Hyde. They're now this stoic business person that's going to conquer the world. It blows me away. When people go into a sales call being somebody they're not, hang it up. Call's over. Right? I'm just not the fake it till you make it guy. That's just not me. I'm the go get punched in the face 20 times and keep getting punched until you figure it out guy. Right? I would rather somebody walk up on the sales call and be dead honest with me and say, this is my first day. I'm out prospecting because I've got to figure out how to grow this business. I'm more likely to give that kid my time than the person who's brand new and comes in bravado, comes in all gangbusters like they own the world and just does nothing but pull off cheesy sales guy. Right? Give me the young buck that's honest. Right? Look, as a business owner, they probably don't know a lot about their products and services. They don't know a lot to do, but odds are they've got a team behind them. So you entertain the conversation. What I can't stand is that kid that comes in that's like all jazzed up, slick back hair and over the top. You got to have what I need. We're going to do this. You got to do that. Dude, before they open their mouth, you can feel it. Right? So start relaxing. I mean, you got to think about it. When you're out and you are a prospect buying anything, how do you want somebody to talk to you? How do you want somebody to treat you? I guarantee it's not the over-the-top greasy sales guy. But I also guarantee it's not the uncomfortable, scared out of their gourd person either. So you got to relax. And then number two is you got to get in the game. See, a lot of people that I've talked to at conferences I've spoken at, trade shows I've spoken at, and associations that I've spoken at, I get a lot of people that will come up to me like after the event and they'll say, Donnie, I just don't think I have the confidence. I just don't think I'm confident enough to pull it off. And here's my answer. Confidence isn't a thing, right? Confidence is not a thing. I really want confidence removed from the vocabulary. Problem is, I know they'll replace it with something else, but it's not a lack of confidence why you're not doing well in sales. It's a lack of reps. It's a lack of experiences. It's a lack of attempts. It's a lack of tries. It's a lack of putting yourself out there. Most people that are struggling in sales are struggling because they're not doing the things they should be doing to get in front of people. Right? Think about it. How many times have you been to a networking event, been to a business event, hell, been on a sales call, and they said, follow up with me in a week, or they said, here's my business card, or you collected a business card, or whatever else, and you never followed up with that person? Why? Because I've been on the receiving end of that. I have been in situations where I have specifically told a person, I'm really interested in using your services. Call me on Monday. I'm running 100 miles an hour. And I've never heard from him. Blows me away. And just for the record, when somebody who's doing a lot of stuff looks at you and says, hey, call me on Monday, your next move should be, why don't we do this? Break out your calendar. Let's find a time that I know you'll be there, I can get there, and we can grab that phone call. May sound like a ballsy maneuver, but when you make that move, shoot. Now it's on my calendar or it's on their calendar, whatever. You know, I know it's there. I know it's coming up. I know I could slough it off. Right? But most times I'll keep that meeting. I'll keep the meeting. Others may go away from the meeting or slough you off. But, you know, I want somebody with a little bit of fight in them. You know, what's great is because of the success of the show, you know, I'm getting PR firms reaching out to me trying to get their clients on the show. And I have this one gal that I freaking love. So she's brought me 2 guests. And, you know, I run 100 miles an hour, and I try and get back to in somewhat of a timely manner every email. But I know some of my emails fall through the cracks, and I'm getting better. But this gal has been just tenacious. She wants to get her people on my show. So every day, in a fun, gentle email, she's been saying, hey, you know, I've got so-and-so. What are your thoughts about getting them on the podcast? What are you looking for? Here's their story. You know, and if I don't respond, she'll send me another email. Just, hey, just want to make sure you got this email. And every time I respond, man, I'm popped. She's back to me, gets me another response. And I tell her what I'm looking for, and she's like, boom, yep, we got that. Then she'll book the shows, right, go through the process. And then, you know, she brings me another one. And if I forget to reply, boom, she's right there. She's tenacious. So tenacious that I called her company up. That's true. I called her company up and said, you know, I got to tell you, I love what she's doing. How do I hire you guys to do that for me? And now, how awesome is it that a salesperson performs so well in their role that the CEO of another company calls up and says, I want to use your services? It's ridiculous. Right? People are so timid because they don't have enough experience, and they're not putting in the reps. They're not putting in the time. They're not doing just the things they know they need to do at the bare basics minimum level to find success. You know, the third thing you got to have is a freaking process. Winging sales does not work. Winging, W-I-N-G, winging sales does not work. My favorite salespeople to sit down and talk with are the ones that just came back from an event of some sort, and they have 500 business cards sitting on their desk. And they're sitting in a stack. And I'll ask, what are you doing with the business cards? And they're like, well, these are my follow-ups. These are my prospects. Awesome. I love that. Who are you calling? Well, I'm just going to go through the stack of business cards. I'm going to call the first one on top. I'll probably make some sort of note on that. Then I'll call the next one, probably make some note on that. I'll call the next one. I'll make some note on that. I'm like, cool. What kind of voice message are you leaving? Oh, I don't leave voice messages. And I'm always like, good, because then you'll never get a call back. I don't understand why people don't leave voice messages. Then I'm like, okay, and if they don't respond to that call, when you call them back? Oh, probably in a week or so. I want to be that over-the-top salesperson. But how the hell do you know what works for your business or doesn't? If you're not following a system, then you're eventually toast. Because something's going to break. Something's going to fall through the cracks. Something's going to screw up. Guys, sales is a science. That's what makes it so tough. It's just oozing with psychology. It's oozing with science. And if you can get those two things right, c'est la vie, life is easy. Here's why it's science. Science is the art of testing things until you find an answer and then you test it again. Right? And I know that's a rudimentary, description of what science is, but sales is the same thing. Math portion. How many phone calls do I got to get into before I get an appointment? How many appointments do I got to get into before I get a deal? That simple equation, the only math you need to learn in high school, this plus this equals this. Boom. Once you have that equation, now you just rinse, wash, repeat. The science is, how do I get the first interaction? How do I get to the first base? How do I get to that first contact, that first touch, right? And then do more of that. I'm a cold call guy. I make cold calls. Right? It's part of my business model. People hate cold calls. I'm not a big fan either, but I do them. And I know my numbers. How many calls it takes to get to a decision maker that's going to have an appointment. And I'll tell you, usually it's 2 or 3. It's not many. In this day and age, people are easy to get to. They really, really are. Oh, I can hear you right now. Okay, Donnie, tell me how it's easy to get to somebody. You ready? Write this down. Here it is. Really, really, well, if you're driving, don't write anything down. It's really, really simple. You identify a company or an individual you want to go after. Let's say it's a company, and your target is the CEO of that company. Okay? You pick up the phone, and you call the number, and you ask for the CEO. And people are like, oh, that won't work. There's gatekeepers. Well, sure, there's gatekeepers. When the gatekeeper answers the phone, you simply say, is so-and-so running around? Simple enough. Easy enough. Fair enough. And you go. The gatekeeper, she may have her process. Just don't play the game. May I ask what this calling about? Sure. And then shut up. See, people get hung up on they're a salesperson, they've got to act a certain way. No, you don't. You just got to be you. Think about it. If you were a gatekeeper, how would you get past you? Do that. You don't want to go through gatekeepers? Fine. Call up the company. Ask for the accounting department. They'll almost 100% of the time transfer you to the accounting department. And when the accounting department answers the phone, go, oh, crap. I'm sorry. I screwed up. I was trying to get over to John, CEO of the company. Anyway, you can transfer me over there? You're going to be amazed how many times that works. It's the science of just, if it's not working, pivot. Do something else. Do something different. And the key in there is do something. Salespeople fail because of inaction. Everything that you're seeing as results right now are a reflection of all the action you took prior to the day. Right? And you're just seeing the result of your inaction. I love a new hungry salesperson who is just ready to win. Why? Because they still have that fire in their belly and something to prove. And man, I've seen them get their teeth flat out kicked in. And man, to watch them take it on the chin and keep moving forward, that's one of the coolest things in the world. I got so much respect for the salesperson who actually went to work, got after it, and kept pushing forward and learned the things like I shouldn't go after deals that small because they had 40 of them and they had no time in the day to do anything else because they're putting out little fires for stupid accounts that aren't big enough, right? I love these guys that, you know, have gotten their teeth kicked in so many times, they've learned to pivot so they don't get kicked. I mean, look, you walk up to somebody every day and you punch them in the arm. And every time you walk up to them and you punch them in the arm, and you do this for enough days, guess what? The next time you walk up to them, you go to swing, they're going to step out of the way. Because they don't want to get punched in the arm again. Sales is the same thing. You've got to go out and get the reps in. But I know, rejection's kicking your butt. You're not going to get eaten by a T-Rex. And the only way you're going to get over that rejection is to go again. Go again. Go again. And go again. You are not going to solve your sales process, your sales problems, sitting on your thumbs. Not going to happen. You got to go again. You know, I love the movie. It's not Heartbreak Ridge. No, it's not Heartbreak Ridge. Crud. Hacksaw Ridge. That's it. I love the movie Hacksaw Ridge. And, I mean, it's a great story. Don't get me wrong. Love the story. But my scene that I love the most is the scene where the main guy in the movie, their unit's been overwhelmed, and they have this cliff that they've scaled, and this cliff is ridiculously, I don't know how tall it is, but it looks like it's a couple 100 feet straight up and down. I mean, these guys are climbing nets to get up there, and, I mean, it's straight drop. And the unit's overwhelmed, and this guy, through hellfire, brimstone, rounds, guns, bombs blowing off, is a medic. And he starts grabbing people, his comrades in arms, his buddies, his people he's serving with, and one by one starts lowering them down the side of this cliff with a rope. When all the other units had already retreated. And he drops one person. He doesn't drop them. He lowers them down. He drops that person. Then he lowers down another person. He drops that person down, lowers another one. He gets to the point to where his hands and his arms are exhausted. His hands are bleeding and blistering because he's lowering these people down. And he starts telling himself one phrase, one more, God. Let me get one more. And he'd run back into the battlefield, and he'd grab another one, and he'd lower him down. And as soon as he's lowering him down, he's like, one more, God. Just give me one more. Guys, that's sales. Ask for the one more. One of the greatest sales guys I knew in my life when I was a young buck starting in sales, and I said, dude, what has made you successful over the years? And he always said, just one more call. I said, what do you mean by one more call? Is every day before I go home, I say, I can get one more in. And he does. And he gets that one more call in. You know, that's what you're aiming for. That's what you're trying to do. Don't avoid the fire. Run straight at it. Look, when you do the things you don't want to do, you realize the fears that are popping up in your life. Now you got to know what to work on. And there's 100 reasons why you may be battling rejection, battling whatever. But when you go straight at it, each time it gets a little easier. Now, I'm not going to say it's ever going to be easy. I don't care who the biggest salesperson in the world is. It's never going to be easy for them, for us, for anybody. It's called sales. But look, I promise you that as you're going about your journey, you're going to have to sell something. That's it. You're going to have to sell. And you have two choices. Choice number one is you can half-ass it like you've done your entire freaking life. And you can slough it off. Do it partially. Do just enough to get by. That's okay. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. The other option is you go and you purposely get your teeth kicked in. Because look, it's not a matter of anything other to find success is you need just one more. And you don't know, man, that one more may be the deal. You know, everybody's looking for that moment that breaks loose for them. Well, let me let you into a little insight. There's never that moment. There is only that moments of time over time, the compounded interest on what you've already done. You know, it's amazing to me how much people will avoid pain. They'll avoid growth. They'll avoid life because they're so worried about what is happening in their world. And stop. Nobody cares. That's the truth. There's only a handful of people who really give a damn about you. When you walk away from a sales call, you walk away from a sales interaction, you walk away, 9 times out of 10, you are out of sight, out of mind. They're not even thinking about you. When you go into that sales call expecting they have to like you to do business, you're in trouble. And I hate the phrase that people got to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the reason I hate the phrase is people get hung up on the like. The like comes, but it only comes from trust. I can like you all day long and never do business with you. I got to trust. Right? When you're selling me, you're selling anybody else. You're asking them to part with money. That's either theirs or company money. And, dude, you're asking me to put my ass on the line every time you sell something. And I got to deliver. Absolutely got to deliver. You got to bring it. That's all there is to it. So number 4 in this process, hell, I've probably thrown in more steps in there, but number 4 is buddy up. You don't want to handle rejection? Buddy up. Find somebody else that sucks at sales as bad as you. And buddy up. And here's what you do. You go, I go. Sit down, do cold calls together. You make a call, I make a call. You make a call, I make a call. Laugh at your mistakes. Laugh at your screw-ups. Cheer your wins. Help each other out. Coach each other. Rise up together. Go to networking events together. Go do walk-ins together. Interact with each other's social stuff. Right? Put a plan in it that says, dude, we're going to war. You're my battle buddy. Let's run. And watch what happens. And if you pick the wrong battle buddy, pick another. Don't go out. You don't have to do this all alone, guys. Find somebody as part of a networking group that I was a part of, there was 3 gals that used to go do walk-ins together. One sold telecom services, one sold financial services, the other one sold copiers. 3 different industries used to go walk into businesses together. Now, they did it for a couple reasons. 1, they didn't want to be females walking by themselves. I get that. But 2, they all had this nervous energy around them. And by going together, it eliminated all that. Now imagine you have 3 gals walk into your office and say, who's the owner? And now you got 3 different angles to get in there. And not all 3 of you are going to get a deal. But now you got 2 people going with you. But people don't want to partner up with somebody, buddy up with somebody, because they're so worried about what that person's going to think of them, on the sales call. They're worried that they're going to see them screw up and blow up and do stupid things. Well, guess what? We all do stupid things. We all do smart things. We all do silly things. It's life. You want to find rejection in life, don't perform. Don't show up. Don't rise. Don't push forward. That's what's going to cause you to not find the success you're looking for. You got to go for it. And continue to go for it. And it's not enough to say that I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do more. That's like trying to hold water in your hands. It's just going to leak out. What you need to do, put a plan together. Put a process in place. And go. Do it. Move. Get after it. And then do it again. Do it again. Get your teeth kicked in again. Go again. and then go again and keep going. And every time you get punched in the face by life, go at it again. This time, duck. Move out of the way. Bruce Lee. The greatest way to avoid a punch is not be there. Right? Dude, you have so many amazing talents and gifts. Sales should not be a hindrance for your business. The last thing I wanted to bring is ask for the business. Ask what to do next. There's no close, guys. There's no closing strategy in sale. The only person that can close a sales call is the prospect. I really hate these cheesy douchebag guys and gals that tout, oh, you got to over the top them and do this maneuver and blah, blah, blah. Piss off. You want to close a deal out, look at somebody and say, what should we do next? What's our next step from here? Where does this go from here? And then just don't leave that conversation until they tell you yes or no. And be okay with that no. Sales is tough, but it doesn't have to be. You know, there's a number of ways you can do it right and you can do it well. Pick. But choose a path. Go after it. Don't change it up. Most of the times when people don't follow their path that they laid out and continue after it, there's some sort of fear popping up and kicking their ass. That's all there is to it. I really hope this one helped you out, guys. It's been my philosophy over the years, and it's how I've found successes in my business, is by constantly helping people do some of the things I've done and just push through and keep pushing. So that's it. End of the day. Go for it. Keep going for it. And, you know, send me the messages about your wins. I'd love to hear them. You know, send me the times that the deals that you won, the things you learned. I'd love to hear it. You can send it over to Donnie at DonnieBoivin.com. You know, but man, go for it. You know, a couple of quick things. Come hang out with us. You want to start a podcast? We got So You Want a Podcast. It's a group on Facebook. You want to rise in social selling and rising your personal brand? Come hang out in Donnie's Success Champion. We talk about the podcast. We talk about your brand and growing your business. Right? You know, come hang out on you know, the Facebook pages. Success Champion, Donnie Boivin, and you know, I'm constantly putting out content. Come follow me on Instagram at Donnie.Boivin. You know, hang out with me there. Come find me on LinkedIn. Come find me on Twitter, Donnie Boivin. Right? Come interact, engage, and let's talk about how we get you further in life and help you go for it. Hope this helped you out, guys. Go big and loud. Later.
You know what, guys? Really, thank you for listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun putting these together. I wanted to make sure before we get out of here that you knew what we were doing with social content. What we found was because of the podcast, we have a unique way of helping you get your social content out on a very easy way. What we're doing is we're interviewing people, and from that interview, we will capture a lot of information that will then be turned into videos, memes, articles, all things you can use for your social content. I know, like for me, one of the biggest struggles I had was, what do I put out there? What do I say on a regular basis? Well, we'll help do all that for you. So if this is at all of interest to you, reach out to us and let us help you Grow your social media channel. I can tell you I did this for my business, and my social media is completely taking off. My Instagram, since I started doing this, jumped to over 10,000 followers, and it continues to grow. So if this is at all of interest to you, check the bottom of the show notes for the link that says, "Get my social content done right now."